You're listening to the StudioPTBO podcast, where we talk all things marketing to help you build and grow your business online. Welcome to the latest episode. Welcome to another episode of the StudioPTBO podcast. We are back, and we're back at it again with another guest. I want to say thank you so much for tuning in to another episode. We're really on a mission to help passionate and energetic entrepreneurs with marketing and mindset knowledge to help them build, grow, and scale their business online. And today's guest we have, we're going to introduce in a few seconds. Before we get there, Neil Morton, how you doing? Life's good?
Yes, it is, Mr. Cody May. I'm wearing my plaid shirt. Not that I'm not always wearing my plaid shirt, but I'm wearing it today because being in Canada, it is snowing outside.
Yeah.
Yes. Breaking news.
And it's not snowing in San Diego.
It's not,
we would be very concerned if it was snowing in San Diego.
and that San Diego reference is made because our guest is joining us from San Diego, California. Beautiful, sunny, probably, what is it there, Rich? 80 degrees?
No, nice 75 probably.
Okay, 75. I'll take it. Cody, will you take that?
I would take anything over 65 right now.
But yeah, Rich Rudzinsky, welcome to the show. We're grateful to have you on today.
Thanks, guys. Really, really excited to be here.
So Rich, you are an entrepreneur. You lead a company there called Tragic Media. And I'm fascinated by names. So you must tell us the backstory. Where did Tragic Media, that name, come from?
I feel like it's a band name.
Well, I mean, it doesn't hurt to, work your brand in line with your persona, right? Have that all build up and reinforce itself. But it's actually funny. It's a little bit of the chicken and the egg. I came up with the name back in college for like my digital portfolio when I was learning, the newest web technologies there. But I used it for my consulting agency. And as we started to grow, we really started to focus on helping businesses to, scale their most complex digital products. And with that, we realized that a lot of entrepreneurs, they went to several different developers or agencies before really, finding somebody that could help them really execute their vision. And that's really a tragedy. So we, the name kind of came to itself, and we help businesses of all sizes avoid software tragedies and just help them, providing, great technical consulting and helping them make well-informed decisions about their technology.
I was reading your your bio. Todd set us up with kind of a bio, and I'm really, really interested in, obviously, like Neil mentioned, in the naming conventions. I'm really interested in the audio engineer side of you. I would love to kind of chat a little bit about that. I know that as a kid, you mentioned that, you just had a passion for, computer software and, from a really young age. Like, what made you kind of transition out of college to go into audio engineering and then transition out of that back into, development, back into front-end development, running a team?
Yeah.
Like, how did that kind of happen? And like, maybe tell us about your audio engineering background.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, music is a very important part of my life, and, I love it. And, has always been something that I've been very involved in. So went to UCSD, and at college, I ended up finding a major that would allow me to mix all my different passions. So I was able to learn a lot about computers and the latest web technologies. And I was also able to take a lot of recording and arts classes and just kind of new media. And so with that, getting out of college, I first pursued my passion with music, and I was an audio engineer, helping, run live sound, doing some recordings. But I didn't really want to move back to LA. That's where I grew up, and I had moved to San Diego for school. And as you guys mentioned, it's real nice here. So I wanted to stick around. There wasn't a lot of opportunities at that time, with audio engineering, and I kind of like hit a wall and wasn't really moving much with that. So I started moving, I moved my career over to my other side of my major, which was about, digital new media, web technologies. I became a developer at a really great agency down here, and learned just, cut my teeth, learn the tools of the trade and how big agencies deliver enterprise level software for their clients. And then, saw some some opportunities within that field. I had hit another kind of career growth limit at that company, wasn't able to move up anymore. At that time, it was during the 2008 recession, and there weren't a lot of other opportunities. So I was searching for, something else, something better, and wasn't finding it. But I did find that my side consulting, everybody in the web industry, usually does stuff on the side, helping out friends, family, making a little bit extra money. And my side consulting really started to ramp up and take off. So I just invested all in on that, grew that up to become more than a full-time job, and then realized like there was something really unique that I had created. My company really focuses on development and the execution of, really custom high-end technology products. And at the time in 2009, when I started this company, there weren't a lot of other software agencies out there. There were a lot of design agencies, a lot of marketing agencies, but software agencies, other than maybe some overseas company, it was something that was still kind of ramping up and building, especially a company that's like really rooted in that more so than the other areas of, digital consulting.
Yeah, so your agency was born out of the 2008 recession, really. Again,
Yeah, absolutely.
You always look at in times of crisis, and right now we're in a period of crisis for a lot of people in a pandemic. A lot of amazing things arise out of those periods, right? Out of disruption.
It's a time for opportunity. Exactly like you said, there's a lot of disruption happening. I think this is the time that entrepreneurs are able to, really grow. And also it's really helpful for consultants, because a lot of businesses are trepidatious about, where they want to go and how they want to spend their money, because they're not sure about the future. So they're more prone to hire a consultant that can help them out in a short-term capacity than to hire an employee, because that's more of a long-term investment for them.
Talking about that pivot, Rich, from being an employee to an entrepreneur, what does the networking aspect and the startup scene in San Diego look like, that ecosystem there, and how beneficial was it to you tapping into that?
San Diego is a really interesting place. I love building a business here because we do big things with small teams. So, San Diego is not in LA. It's not in San Francisco. The competition is not as high. So if you're really good at what you do, you can really make a name for yourself, pretty well out here. So initially, we've had a lot of pivots and changes over the years. We went from just being a sole proprietor, where I was just running the business and doing everything myself as a consultant, to hiring developers to then, do the jobs for me. And originally, we were a white label shop, so we helped marketing and design agencies execute their really high level projects when they don't have very advanced teams in-house. And then we started pivoting away, and now we work mostly with startups and mid-market or enterprise and some small businesses too, and help them to execute. So having a great network has always been very important to our growth, because especially in the custom software consulting, like it's not something that you can do a lot of like outbound sales with and be very successful, because not a lot of people need our services. And when they do, they usually, it's a longer research-driven process. Most of our leads take 3 months to 6 months plus for us to close, because the clients really do their due diligence in deciding what teams they want to move forward with. So we live and die by, our referrals, by the clients that we have. Doing good work and continuing to support them over the long term is really how we've been able to grow.
Really curious when, obviously we have an in-house team of developers as well. We develop on WordPress. I know that, you're a big Drupal guy. I'm just curious to know, where, a lot of the entrepreneurs we chat with, they're really looking for direct sales. And that's a really big element behind everything. So I'm just curious on your insight on spending the time to focus on UI and UX, and spending the time to really focus on building a website or building a software platform that really might take time in order to reap the benefit, I guess you could say, or make their investment back. What would you say to an entrepreneur that is wanting to create like an app or a software platform? How are you handling those conversations? Because I know the conversations that we have with entrepreneurs is like, hey, we want to make money. And ultimately money makes the business go around, and they need money. But obviously there's an investment attached to creating a business. So I'm curious to know kind of the conversations that happen from a development to an entrepreneur, small business startup type of conversation.
Yeah, great. So first, we do work with a variety of frameworks. My approach has always been, we want to use the right tool for the job. A lot of other agencies have very much verticalized around their framework offerings. So they are a WordPress agency or they are a Shopify agency. We work with a number of different platforms, frameworks, and languages. So entrepreneurs that come to us, we can help architect the solution that fits best for them and for their growth goals, and where they want to go both now and in the future, rather than just building something that's kind of the most comfortable for us or that we've done 100 times before or whatever. And I think in terms of like entrepreneurs and their growth, I think that the great thing right now is that there are so many tools out there. There's no code application development tools that are getting pretty sophisticated. There's really easy to build solutions through like Webflow. Wix is actually even getting, more advanced. WordPress, has always brought this whole plug and play culture to, web development. But our clients are definitely the ones, So entrepreneurs have a lot of tools available to them for them to get out there, start making money, start proving their concept, validate their ideas, get more investment so that then they can come to a company like us when they really want to do it right, when they really want to stand out from the crowd, when they really want to differentiate themselves from other competitors and create a platform that is going to build and scale with them long term. To your point, it is an investment. We're not just throwing a bunch of plugins at something and using a pre-built theme and just getting something out there. We're building pretty sophisticated decoupled interfaces, progressive web applications, JavaScript native applications, other tools that take a little bit more of an investment, but then it gives the entrepreneur a lot more freedom to grow and pivot the business wherever they want. You run into a lot less walls, because of the predefined functionality of a plugin, or a pre-built theme might do something a certain way, and to get over a certain hurdle or to push the site to a certain piece of functionality sometimes is impossible, or just a really, really large lift. Whereas if you build it from the ground up, you have a lot more control over the very small intricacies of the project.
Yeah.
Awesome.
I'm curious, Rich, how you've pivoted as an agency during the pandemic. So did you have an office? Have you moved home now? Because Cody and I find that we've really embraced having Zoom meetings. We're living on Zoom right now with clients because we have clients now globally and even locally, quite frankly. Our office is no longer open to clients coming in. Our staff's all back in the office. But we just find that it's more liberating and empowering for us, and less idle time, less waste of small talk, chit chat, if you will. Give us your lens and perspective on that, and how you approach client meetings now.
Yeah. Well, on the first hand, like we've always been a mixed kind of remote team. I always push my team to live a good work-life balance, and we have flexible schedules, so we don't have very defined, like, you have to work from 8 to 5 or something like that. It's all about like the team just being accountable for their actions and their responsibilities, and making sure that they're getting their jobs done. So we already had, even when we had an office space in downtown, which we had for over 7 years, and we just recently shut it down last month because our lease was up and didn't make sense to renew. But we've already had that culture built in. As we've grown, I've put a emphasis on growing remotely through finding the best talent no matter where they are. So we get resources from all across the United States. We do stay very stateside right now. But by doing that, we're not just confined to the ecosystem within San Diego, which is very particular and also very competitive with the growing startup scene down here. So that's really helped us because we already had that kind of remote first culture. Even the people in San Diego, sometimes it's really hard to get them down to the office. A lot of times our office was more for client meetings, and allowing clients to kind of legitimize the agency. I think that's a big problem in digital. There's a lot of people that work with other consultants or we were a white label shop for a long time working through other agencies. So that transparency is not usually presented to the client. So a lot of times they want to come in and just kind of like touch your table and make sure you're there. You have a team of developers in-house, I think that climate has shifted very dramatically with COVID. I don't think that is an expectation that most people have anymore. To get there. And also now it's like, well, now most people don't have offices anymore. So having a remote first team is something that they can expect. So I think as clients are embracing this, Zoom first culture, I think it's a lot easier for us to run with that, because that's the way we've been kind of managing our team anyway.
There's no doubt in my mind that web development and these software platforms that are being built for different entrepreneurs and businesses, and I was looking at kind of your media kit in regards to working with companies like Intuit. I'm really curious, where, because you're on the forefront of building this stuff and building these software platforms and constantly innovating. We look at a company you mentioned earlier, like Shopify, who has seen tremendous growth in the platform over the last year as entrepreneurs really flock to an online solution. I'm really curious to know where you see the future of development going. Where do you see the future of software going? How is it a lot of times we talk about with entrepreneurs creating that in-person experience, depending on the industry. But I'm just curious, where do you see the future going with development, with software companies? What's your take on that?
Yeah, as things have evolved, that's why we work with so many different frameworks, and we're always keeping on the cutting edge of everything, is because markets and the way that people are executing their visions change. Previously we were a very heavy e-commerce agency, and with the rise of Shopify, we've transitioned away from that, because Shopify kind of brought the whole WordPress, plugin ability to e-commerce and made it a lot easier for businesses everywhere just to get their commerce sites up and running and looking pretty good just, right off the bat. And that was a lot of, some of the work that we did previously. So, as things have evolved and made it easier for businesses and to use these new platforms, we want to become experts at those so that we can help our clients to leverage those frameworks if they make sense, and to support those over the long term. And then also we continue to keep up with the trends and changes, and we move further and further down kind of the pipe in terms of our technology. So in terms of trends, I see cross-platform development is something that it's been the holy idol or golden idol or whatever of web development or software development. And I think that we are finally in a space where that's becoming a reality. Things like Flutter, things like the new Swift UI, these frameworks allow you to build once and deploy everywhere. And I think that is going to be from a consumer standpoint, it's going to be a lot more of a uniform experience between your phone, your computer, your laptop, tablet, whatever else it might be. Being able to have all of your apps, across those, and being able to have, your data synced, very smoothly is really important, and something that has grown. And then on the business end, being able to build and support applications that work at all these different devices, because devices are just continuing to come out every day. There's new devices, operating systems are changing and growing. Being able to keep your applications built and up to date and all these can be very, very expensive. And so that's one of the big keys or benefits of this cross-platform development, is it gives you a lot less to maintain. Your software teams can be a lot smaller and less diverse in terms of the different languages and skills that they have, so that as an organization, it's just more cost effective for you to have your applications on the web, on iOS, on Android, and everywhere.
How are you balancing the creativity among your team, like the creative element, like the design with the development, but also with the marketing, like the conversion, entrepreneurs wanting conversion ultimately? And I know from an ad standpoint, paid advertising standpoint, like on Facebook, really the simplistic type of funnel or type of marketing platform are the things that are really converting for us from a marketing perspective. I'm curious to kind of get your take on simplistic over obviously there's element of UI and UX and wanting to make the user experience really good, are you experiencing any load time issues with like certain platforms, or like kind of what's your take on that, like from a marketing perspective? And maybe you don't have an answer, but I'm just curious to kind of know what your thought is on that.
Yeah, absolutely. So we don't actually do marketing in-house.
Yeah.
We're very much, UI, UX development, but we work collaboratively with other marketing agencies
Cool.
or with internal marketing teams. And, so marketing people are one of our biggest clients are the, directors of marketing or heads of marketing for these different companies, or entrepreneurs, that have their starting out and, really getting their marketing going. And for that, it's about just helping them get the right technology to support their marketing efforts. You're talking about landing pages. Well, there's a lot of great software out there that lets you really easily build landing pages that you can direct ad traffic to, that isn't really necessarily like part of your software or your web system. So sometimes that's a smart choice. Sometimes it's about building those that functionality and those features within the content management system that we're using, whether that's WordPress or Drupal, or a lot of times what we're moving to now is we've moved to building decoupled web interfaces using Contentful, which is a software as a service, it's a SaaS, a CMS. And so they handle all the security elements of the CMS, the content experience and everything is something that company manages. And then we use Gatsby, which is a little JavaScript static site builder, to build these really sweet little static sites so that all of your content from the content management system is served as flat file HTML files, the way the web was run, way back in 2000. And that really is what browsers like best. So one of the things that accelerated this change for us is we were hitting a lot of performance issues with some of our bigger WordPress clients, and they were having these really big sites, really heavy with plugins, and the load times were horrendous. And from a user acquisition or even just like user experience perspective, like load times and performance is so important right now. And once you've already optimized the cloud host, once you've already gotten a CDN in place and you've done all these other things, at some point it comes down to the system and framework itself, and ensuring that you're using modern ones that are built on a performance first kind of architecture.
Awesome. Appreciate that.
Rich, in terms of, you mentioned earlier work-life balance, which is amazing. And Cody and I, I've been good at it for a few years because I figured it out, and Cody's figured it out lately. But on the side, like, what are your passions? Obviously, I can see body art and tattoos. Really cool what you got going there. And, what does that mean to you, that creativity on your body and how it translates to your life and your interests outside of work, if you will?
Yeah, I'm a very creative person. I have a really interesting left brain, right brain balance. So I'm very technical, but also very creative, but not necessarily an artist. So my body art is really my canvas and my way to express my own personality and have my own ability to really have a creative outlet for some of my own creative passions. And then I think just in being a very unique and creative driven individual, and one that looks so unique and creative, has also helped, to some degree with our branding. It helps us, not only like the name, but, being the CEO, I really stand out from everybody else. And that I think comes through in everything that we do. We have a very unique perspective on software development. We have a very, catered approach to how we've evolved this over the last 11 years and how we approach different projects. And it really, helps us to, well, this doesn't help us, but like, we really focus on finding, the vision of the individual business or entrepreneur we're working with, and making sure that that's coming through, in the creative elements that we're doing. So, I think it's just really important to always be true to yourself and true to, your interests and your passions, and not, let pre-existing maybe, stipulations or like industry norms, keep you away from that. I knew that I would have some struggles, in my career growth by, being so expressive, if you will. But it's never really been a big barrier for me. And if anything, I've found that it's opened more opportunities because of how open and, true to myself I am.
Yeah, no, and I love that. Stay authentic, stay true to yourself, because ultimately, like we've chatted a lot about, me and Neil, over the last couple of years, about you're ultimately going to attract your tribe. You're going to attract the people that are really, really want to work with you, and the people that you want to work with. So, I kind of want to close up with one final question around, we're talking about work-life balance and teams. I want to close up with, what are like 3 tips that you could give to entrepreneurs that are growing teams? I think work-life balance is a great thing that I think too often isn't really talked about enough. Like especially, really 2016 to 2018 was really big around hustle culture. You got to work 80 hours a week in order to grow, in order to thrive, when in all actuality, you just need to build a team. So I'm really curious to know 3 tips that you would give to entrepreneurs that are growing teams, that want to build faster, based on your 11 years of experience. What are the top 3 tips that you have for entrepreneurs?
Well, now, with COVID, I think this has pushed one of those norms. Is before, I feel like everybody needed to be able to touch their team and have them local, have them in office, in their shared space or whatever. And, you really just roll with the punches of this, and you should be looking at, remote first, find the best talent, not necessarily the best talent in your area, because, depending on where you are, that could be very restrictive. And then also, it's more about finding a team that aligns with your culture, your business values, and the work that you do, because those are the team members that are going to stick with you long term. Finding and hiring and people is very expensive, and it's a lot better if you can find, maintain, and grow people within your organization. Another one, for work-life balance, like, I'm really big on having flexibility in schedule, and letting people have breaks during the day when they need to take breaks to handle their life. I think in doing so, it just helps prevent burnout and fatigue. And that's really important, and something that's really hard in like the agency world, because, we're just grind. And it definitely, can go from one project into another. And so making sure that you have visibility on that, but then also providing your employees with the ability to prevent their own, burnout, and also to, kind of raise a hand when they need that. And something that I guess we're still working on is, how to build culture within your organization remotely. And I think that's a challenge for all of us as business owners, as entrepreneurs. That's changed. You can't just get like the foosball table or, some snack machine and just call it culture and, check that box. Now it's a lot harder to, how do you build a team that's remote and have them feel like they're still part of a team and very, interconnected as a unit. And, I know some businesses have done a lot of like, happy hour things with their organization. Some of them, send out different like monthly, perks and stuff. We're still working on exactly what's going to fit right for our organization. But I would say for entrepreneurs, like, make that a focus in how can you build your culture that you want to have for your company, and how can you do that successfully remotely.
Rich, man, that's awesome. Those are really, really great pieces of advice for any entrepreneur listening back to this podcast. Building culture is something that Neil and I have chatted a lot about over the last year. It's been like just on the forefront of really driving home whatever your mission is, and constantly communicating, getting that one-to-one feedback. And it's part of the reason why we launched one-to-one meetings once a week, every week with our staff. Everyone on our staff does a one-to-one meeting with us. We do daily huddles to make sure that we open up the opportunity in order to solicit that feedback, almost like forced communication. And there's been so many cool things that have come out of one-to-one meetings, out of daily huddles. And I really just want to thank you more than anything, Rich, for taking the time to chat with us about development, about the future, about your business. And if somebody were to want to reach you, they want to learn more about what you guys do, where is the best place that we can send them?
Yeah. Go to gotragic.media. Find us on LinkedIn. We're really big on LinkedIn. You can look for me, Tragic Rich or Tragic Media, and you'll be able to find us pretty easily. Engage with us, follow us, and obviously, if anybody's looking for a consultation or needs any help, just shoot us a message. Happy to do a free consultation, help provide some insight in terms of like where you are on your growth path. If it's time to look, for a custom agency like us, or whether there's some, software solutions off the shelf that you could use to kind of get the ball running. So I really appreciate the time. time and having me on the show. It was so awesome and really exciting. And I'm sending you guys some of this good San Diego weather. I hope it makes it all the way up to you.
Yeah,
And,
we're gonna manifest some good weather here.
Yes, totally.
I would love it. Awesome.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, Rich. Really do appreciate your time. And
Thanks,
thank you so much for tuning into another episode of the Studio PTBO podcast. Really, like I said at the top of the hour, we are on a mission to help passionate and energetic entrepreneurs with marketing and mindset knowledge, help them build, grow, and scale their business online. We have a Facebook group. It's free. Doesn't cost anything to get in there. We do weekly training. We do monthly guest coaches, a ton of stuff, a ton of resources for entrepreneurs inside of that. It's called the Studio PTBO Mindset, Marketing, and Business Secrets Facebook community. Love to see you in there. Thank you again, Rich. Thank you, Neil.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you for tuning in another episode of the Studio PTBO podcast. We will see you soon.